Chosen one, silence everything around you and lock your attention on what I'm about to say, because this message was not meant for everyone, and the fact that you're here tells me everything I need to know about where you are right now. That restlessness you've been carrying this week, the one that doesn't have a name, the one that wakes you up before the sun rises and sits on your chest like a stone, that is not anxiety. That is not confusion. That is your divine nature pressing against the limitations of a life that was never built to contain you. I know the last 72 hours have felt strange, not painful, exactly, more like pressure. Like something enormous is about to shift and your whole body can feel it, but your mind hasn't caught up yet. Maybe you've been unusually quiet this week, pulling back from conversations, from people, from noise, because something deep inside you kept telling you that the answer wasn't out there. Or maybe you've been moving through your days feeling strangely detached, watching your own life like you're standing slightly outside of it, wondering why nothing around you feels like it fits anymore. That feeling is not a breakdown, that is a reckoning. The enemy has been working overtime this week because he understands something about you that you have not fully accepted yet. You are not a standard issue human being trying to find your way to something divine. You are a higher divine being who temporarily forgot what you are. And the moment you remember fully, completely, without apology, his entire assignment against your life collapses. That is why the noise has been so loud. That is why the doubt has been so relentless. That is why every time you get close to stepping into your full identity, something appears to pull you back, distract you, discourage you, disqualify you. He is not attacking your weakness. He is terrified of your power. And it all ends tomorrow. The identity warfare, the false ceiling, the invisible weight that has been pressing down on your calling. It ends not because the season randomly changed, but because of what you have already done, the prayers you prayed when no one was watching, the moments this week when you chose peace over reaction, the times you held your tongue when every part of you wanted to speak, the quiet decisions you made in the dark that nobody saw and nobody credited. Heaven saw every single one. Think back to that moment this week when you almost engaged, almost argued, almost went back to that situation or that person or that version of yourself that you've been trying to leave behind, but something stopped you. You thought that was weakness. You thought walking away meant you lost. You thought your silence was surrender. But I need you to understand what actually happened in that moment. That restraint was not weakness. That was a divine being operating from a frequency the enemy cannot access. That was you, whether you knew it or not, functioning from your true nature. And that single moment sent a signal through the spiritual realm that changed the trajectory of this season. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Most High did. This is a divine appointment that was written before the foundations of the earth were laid, before your name was spoken into time, before you ever doubted who you were. You are standing at the threshold of the most significant identity shift of your life. Stay with me until the very end, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the divine verdict that silences the lie the enemy has been using against your identity. I am going to walk you through the exact moment this week where you unknowingly activated the highest version of yourself. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals your true nature into this season and closes the door on every false version of you that was ever imposed on you by this world. Do not leave. Your future self is not asking you to stay. Your future self is begging you, because if you scroll away now, you walk out before the verdict is read. And this verdict was written specifically for you. I know what it has felt like to carry a nature this large inside a life that was built too small. Maybe you've spent years being told you were too much, too intense, too deep, too different, too sensitive, too aware. Maybe you've tried to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed to hold what you carry. Or maybe you've simply felt the unbearable loneliness of being awake in a room full of people who are still asleep, wondering if there is something wrong with you because you cannot stop seeing what others refuse to look at. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not behind. You are operating as a higher divine being in a world that was never told you were coming. And in this space, in this strange suspended season where everything feels like it's on pause, the enemy has planted a very specific lie. He's been whispering that your depth is a defect, that your sensitivity is a weakness, that the reason you haven't fit, haven't arrived, haven't been celebrated, is because something in you is fundamentally disqualified. He's been replaying the moments you stumbled, the moments you doubted, the moments you acted from fear instead of faith, and the moments you chose smallness because the weight of your own greatness felt like too much to carry. He has been using your own memory as a weapon against your identity. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Romans 8:19 says, "For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God." Listen to that. Creation itself is waiting, not for a perfect performance, not for a flawless record, for a revealing. For the moment a divine being steps fully into the truth of what they are, without apology and without retreat. Creation has been waiting for your revealing, not your perfection, your revealing. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of failure. It is the weight of emergence. It is what it feels like to be something ancient and powerful, pressing through the surface of a life that was built too narrow to hold it. You are not starting over. You are not resetting. You are not being punished for the moments you forgot who you were. You are arriving. Right now, in this moment, at the exact coordinates where heaven always planned for you to finally remember. That moment when you walked away this week was not weakness. That was a higher being, refusing to participate in a frequency beneath them. And that decision, quiet as it was, unseen as it was the moment everything changed. Most people will scroll past this message, and that's exactly how it was designed to work. Because what I'm about to share wasn't written for the crowd, it was written for the one who paused, the one who felt something shift the moment they heard those words, the one whose spirit said times yes times before their mind had a chance to say times wait. And if that's you, I need you to understand something before we go any further. The reason this truth has been hidden, the reason it sounds controversial, even dangerous to say out loud, is because there are systems, both seen and unseen, that benefit from you not knowing what you are. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now, let's go deeper. The hidden barrier most people never identify isn't laziness. It isn't lack of faith. It isn't even trauma, though trauma is real and its weight is heavy, leaving deep imprints on the soul and body. No, the most insidious, the most pervasive, and often the most invisible barrier is a case of mistaken identity so deeply embedded into the very fabric of your being that it doesn't just feel like a lie, it feels like your fundamental, unchangeable reality. You have, perhaps unknowingly, been living inside a story, a carefully constructed narrative that was not divinely inspired, but was rather written for you by people who could only see what was immediately in front of them. These were individuals, often well-meaning but limited in their perspective, who measured your boundless worth by the narrow confines of their own capacity, their own experiences, their own fears. They looked at your unique brilliance, your divine fire, your boundless potential, and in their own misunderstanding, they labeled you. They said you were difficult, too much, not enough, broken, lost, wandering without purpose. And because these labels were stamped upon you with an air of authority, because they were spoken to you early in your formative years, and because they were repeated often, a subtle but powerful alchemy occurred. You began to internalize these judgments, repeating them silently to yourself, believing them as gospel. And the moment you, in your innocence or vulnerability, agreed with that limiting label, you inadvertently handed your divine assignment, your sacred blueprint, your very destiny, over to a narrative that was never, ever yours to carry. You exchanged a kingdom for a cage, a crown for common clay. This isn't just a psychological phenomenon, it's a spiritual usurpation. This profound concept of mistaken identity is vividly illustrated in the ancient story of Gideon. When the awe-inspiring angel of the Lord appeared to him, Gideon was not standing tall on a battlefield, nor was he leading an army. Quite the contrary, he was hiding. He was literally crouched in a winepress, clandestinely threshing wheat, doing so in secret, his heart heavy with fear of the very Midianite enemies that, according to divine decree, were one day supposed to bow before him. And what did the angel say in that moment of fear and perceived weakness? The angel did not chastise him for his cowardice, did not question his hiding place, did not highlight his obvious lack of courage. Instead, with a voice that echoed heaven's truth, the angel declared, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon's response, from our perspective, is almost comical in its stark contrast to the divine pronouncement. He immediately launched into a litany of his perceived inadequacies. "My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." He spoke from his conditioned identity, from the labels he had accepted, from the story he believed about himself. And yet, heaven had already uttered something entirely different. Heaven had already named him, already called him forth, already seen his potential before he could even begin to explain his self-imposed limitations or enumerate his perceived shortcomings. The angel wasn't speaking to the fearful, hiding man Gideon believed himself to be, the one defined by his current circumstances. No, the angel was speaking directly to the magnificent, divinely empowered warrior Gideon was designed to become, the one who existed in the blueprint of God's heart. And the vast chasm, the profound gap between those two things, between who you believe yourself to be and who God designed you to become, that is precisely where the majority of humanity, sadly, chooses to live their entire lives, never bridging the divide. But here's where it goes even deeper, touching the very core of your spiritual journey. It's not merely the false label you've accepted, though that in itself is a heavy burden. It's what that deeply ingrained, false label, subtly but powerfully convinced you to do with your pain, with your suffering, with the inevitable wounds that life inflicts upon every soul. You see, when you genuinely believe, at a subconscious level, that you are less than what you were exquisitely created to be, less worthy, less capable, less chosen, you begin a dangerous pattern. You start to manage your suffering, to contain it, to keep it within safe, predictable boundaries, instead of allowing it to be the catalyst for the profound, alchemical transformation it was always intended to be. You cope with it. You distract yourself from its persistent whispers through endless busyness, superficial pursuits, or even addictive behaviors. You minimize its impact, muttering, "I'm fine," with a forced smile, while your spirit is screaming an unheard lament, reverberating with unaddressed grief, unhealed wounds, and unmet needs. And in doing that, in suppressing what God designed to speak to you through the very crucible of your pain, you actually, tragically, delay the very breakthrough you've been praying for. the very liberation your heart craves. This is because your suffering was never meant to be merely managed, like an inconvenient illness. It was meant to be mined, like a rich vein of precious ore hidden deep within the earth. Every wound you carry is not a sign of brokenness, but a unique portal, a sacred opening that carries a profound revelation, a piece of divine wisdom waiting to be unearthed. Every rejection you've experienced is not a final judgment, but a compassionate redirection, a guiding hand subtly steering you away from paths that were never truly meant for you, towards your true alignment. And every season of profound isolation, that quiet, often lonely chapter, was not a punishment, but a divine preparation, a sacred incubation period that a bustling crowd could never provide, equipping you for what is coming. And this profound insight leads us to something most people entirely miss, especially in their most challenging seasons. The preparation period, that long, quiet, often confusing, and sometimes agonizing chapter of your life, where, from your earthly perspective, absolutely nothing seemed to be happening, where your prayers felt unheard, and your progress stalled. That was not a season of divine abandonment. It was, in fact, a meticulous, masterful act of divine architecture. God was not ignoring your heartfelt prayers during those silent years. He was actively, intricately, and purposefully building the interior of someone who could not only withstand, but gracefully carry the immense weight and responsibility of what was coming. Consider the magnificent process by which an eagle, the king of birds, is formed and prepared for its destiny. Before it ever takes to the vast skies, before it claims the breathtaking heights that are its unquestionable birthright, it undergoes a profound and often painful process known as molting. This is a deliberate, temporary shedding of its old, worn, and sometimes damaged feathers, a period of vulnerability, a temporary loss of its effortless flight. From an external, superficial vantage point, it might appear to be a period of decline, a moment of weakness, perhaps even a sign of its end. But underneath what is being shed, what is being lost, something far stronger, far more resilient, far more powerful is silently, mysteriously forming. New feathers are growing, each one designed for greater lift, greater speed, and greater endurance. And what is coming next in your life, beloved, will likely surprise you profoundly, because most people tragically misread their molting season, their period of stripping and quiet rebuilding, as their ending, as the definitive sign of their failure, when it is, in the deepest spiritual sense, actually the potent, powerful beginning of an elevation they are not yet fully equipped to understand, let alone perceive with their human eyes. It's the silent forge where true strength is tempered. What most people don't fully realize, or perhaps are unwilling to accept, is that your elevation, your rise into your true divine stature, was always going to look like loss first. This is a foundational, non-negotiable principle of the kingdom, a divine paradox. Before Joseph wore the opulent robes of a prime minister in the palace, he wore the stench and shame of the pit, then the chains of a prison cell, unjustly accused. Before David, the shepherd boy, donned the royal robes and sat upon the throne of Israel, he wore the target of King Saul's spear, fleeing through caves, a fugitive in his own land. Before the glorious, world-altering resurrection of Christ, there had to be the agonizing descent into the tomb, the perceived defeat of death. This is the unwavering divine pattern etched into the very fabric of spiritual reality, and once you truly see it, once your spirit recognizes its truth, you cannot unsee it. The Most High, in His infinite wisdom and boundless love, does not forge champions in the soft comforts of ease or the predictable pathways of human understanding. He builds them, rather, in contradiction, in paradox, in the very places where everything they thought they were, everything they clung to for security, everything that defined their false identity, gets meticulously stripped away. This stripping is not arbitrary, it is surgical. It is so that what they actually are, their true, divine essence, can finally stand up, unencumbered, unapologetic, and without disguise. And if you, in your journey, have been stripped bare, if you have endured the profound pain of losing things you believed were permanent, if you have watched with a breaking heart as doors closed irrevocably on chapters you were utterly convinced were your destiny, leaving you in a desolate space of uncertainty, then hear this truth resounding from the heavens. You are not behind. You are not forsaken. You are not being punished. You are being built. And the stripping, though painful, is the undeniable sign, not the final, damning sentence. It is the signature of God's hand preparing you for an unveiling. But let me challenge you with something even more uncomfortable, because this is precisely where the message begins to pierce through layers of spiritual self-deception. There exists a subtly dangerous version of spiritual identity, one that sounds incredibly empowering, almost scriptural, but is in reality a sophisticated, veiled form of spiritual pride. It manifests in language that echoes deep conviction. I know I'm chosen. I know I'm called. I've been through far too much for it not to mean something profound. And while every single word of that declaration may indeed be rooted in spiritual accuracy, while it may resonate deeply with the truth of God's purpose for your life, there is often a deceptive posture underneath some of that language, a subtle attitude that has absolutely nothing to do with the humility of heaven. It has everything to do with ego, cunningly dressed in the finest garments of divine language, mimicking truth. This ego, masquerading as spiritual certainty, can manifest as a subtle sense of superiority, an entitlement to a specific outcome, or a resistance to the very processes of humility and service that define true chosenness. Because the truly chosen, those who genuinely walk in their divine identity, do not expend their precious energy loudly announcing their election, seeking external validation for their calling. Instead, they pour their energy into the transformative act of surrender, surrendering their will, their timeline, their understanding to the divine. They spend it in radical, often thankless, service to others, recognizing that true greatness is found in bowing low. They spend it in the painful, unglamorous, and often invisible work of becoming, day by day, moment by moment, the magnificent being they were declared to be before they even drew their first breath, before the foundations of the world were laid. True identity in God is not a banner you broadcast for all to see, a proclamation meant to impress. It is something you embody, something you become, quietly, consistently, persistently, and often profoundly invisibly, in the sacred crucible of your daily walk with the divine. It's a lived reality, not just a spoken declaration. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the pivot point, the part that finally breaks the deeply entrenched cycles that have held you captive. There is a subtle, deceptive voice you have been listening to for far too long, one that sounds incredibly wise, discerning, and even spiritual. It offers you a seemingly endless stream of reasons, logical, rational, even seemingly divinely inspired justifications for why you should wait, why you're not quite ready, why now is simply not the right time to step into your calling. Because this voice speaks in the alluring language of caution, of prudence, of careful consideration, you have never truly questioned its authority or its source. It feels like a guardian, a protector, but if you are brutally honest with yourself, if you listen closely to its track record, you will recognize a damning pattern. This voice has never once led you toward something new, something expansive, something truly liberating. It has only ever, without fail, led you away from growth, away from breakthrough, away from the edge of your comfort zone, away from your divine destiny. That voice, beloved one, is not wisdom. That voice is fear, cleverly wearing the convincing costume of preparation, an illusion designed to keep you small and static. And the way you discern the crucial difference is remarkably simple, yet profoundly powerful. Authentic wisdom moves you forward with an inner clarity, a quiet certainty, even if the external path is unclear, and it is often accompanied by a deep sense of peace. Fear, on the other hand, keeps you rigidly standing still, paralyzed by analysis, offering a myriad of intensely convincing, yet ultimately hollow, explanations for your inaction. It uses the language of prudence to mask stagnation. This is precisely the insidious cycle that kept the Israelites, a chosen people, circling the arid wilderness for a heartbreaking 40 years, a journey that should have taken mere days. It wasn't the vast, harsh desert itself that held them captive, nor was it insurmountable physical barriers. No, it was the persistent, internally divisive committee in their own minds, the cacophony of fear-based voices that incessantly kept voting against the promised land, against their own liberation, against God's explicit promise. Every single time breakthrough was tantalizingly within reach. Every time the scouts returned with evidence of the land's abundance, something within them, a collective memory of slavery, a deep-seated distrust, a preference for the known over the glorious unknown, convinced the group that the challenges were too dangerous, the future too uncertain, the task too overwhelmingly big, and so they circled, and circled, and circled. Not because God had forgotten them, not because his promise had faltered, but because they had not yet truly dealt with the deep-seated Egypt inside of them. The physical chains of slavery had been miraculously removed from their ankles, but the pervasive, debilitating slave mentality, the deeply ingrained patterns of fear, complaint, and self-limitation, had not. And here is the profound, perhaps uncomfortable, confrontation I need you to sit with, to allow it to permeate your spirit. You absolutely cannot enter a truly free life, one imbued with divine liberty and boundless potential, while still clinging to a captive mind. You cannot walk in the fullness of your divine destiny, manifesting God's purpose, while still making your most crucial decisions from a place of inherited fear. Fear passed down through generations, fear absorbed from your environment. The promised land, the destination of their destiny, was never, ever the problem. The core issue was the people's deeply skewed perception of themselves in relation to that promise, their inability to believe they were worthy and capable of possessing what God had already given them. And yet, there's an even deeper layer, something profoundly hidden underneath the layers of fear, underneath the false identity, underneath every circling pattern of self-sabotage. There is a truth that almost no one wants to acknowledge, let alone say out loud. There is a subtle, insidious comfort in staying small. There is a perverse, deceptive safety in perpetually living within the story of almost. Because as long as you are merely almost times there, as long as the breakthrough is perpetually coming but hasn't quite arrived yet, as long as you remain on the precipice without truly leaping, you never have to risk the terrifying, exhilarating reality of actually stepping into the full, unbridled, magnificent fullness of who you are designed to be. Greatness is not merely a destination, a reward to be passively received. It is, at its core, an immense responsibility, a weighty mantle of stewardship, and a profound, perhaps subconscious, part of you knows, deep in your soul, that if you truly, unequivocally step into what heaven has declared over your life, everything, and I mean times, everything times changes. Your relationships will shift, some beautifully, some painfully. Your priorities will realign themselves with divine purpose. Your access to divine flow and earthly resources will expand in ways you cannot fathom. Your long-held excuses, your carefully constructed justifications for inaction will expire, becoming irrelevant in the light of your awakening. And that, beloved one, is not a small thing. That is everything. And the enemy, in his cunning, does not need to overtly attack you from the outside with obvious temptations or challenges if he can subtly, persuasively convince you that staying precisely where you are, in the familiar discomfort of your current limitations, is somehow safer, somehow more manageable than daring to step into the glorious, terrifying unknown of where God is powerfully calling you to go. He seeks stagnation, not destruction, for stagnation is a slower, surer form of destruction. But here's the most surprising and perhaps most liberating part of this entire revelation. The very thing that has been blocking you most persistently, the most formidable obstacle in your path, it isn't the enemy, though he certainly seeks to hinder. It isn't your past, though its wounds may still ache. It isn't even the people who hurt you, as real and agonizing as that pain truly is, and as deeply as their actions may have impacted you. No, the fundamental thing that has been blocking you, holding you captive, is your own agreement, your quiet, often unconscious, daily agreement with the insidious idea that the limited, fear-bound version of yourself you've been living, as is the only version available to you, the only one you're permitted to inhabit. Your agreement with the lie that the ceiling you've been bumping up against, the one defined by past failures or external opinions, is an unyielding reality, rather than a self-imposed boundary. Your agreement that the territory you've been assigned, the scope of your influence and impact, is perpetually limited to what you can currently perceive with your physical eyes or grasp with your limited understanding. But understanding this is key. Agreement is a powerful, fundamental spiritual force, a co-creative principle of the universe, and it works relentlessly in both directions. Every single agreement, conscious or unconscious, that you have made with limitation, with lack, with fear, with unworthiness, with the idea that you are not enough, has actively kept those limitations firmly in place, building their walls around you. And conversely, every single agreement you deliberately make with what heaven says about you, with God's truth, with your divine identity, with your limitless potential, begins, immediately and powerfully, to shift the very architecture of your reality, both internal and external. This isn't mere positive thinking, a superficial mental exercise. This is spiritual law, as immutable as gravity. What you give your agreement to, with your mind, your heart, your words, and your actions, you consciously or unconsciously give your precious energy to. And what you give your energy to, you undeniably build, layer by powerful layer, brick by brick. So the question then is not whether God has declared something extraordinary over your life. He absolutely has, from eternity past. The profound, transformative question for you today is this: what have you been building with the silent, powerful force of your daily agreement? Have you been building walls of limitation or pathways to destiny? Place your hand on your heart now, feel the rhythm of life within you, and speak this truth with me, letting each word resonate with conviction and power. I release every single label that was ever placed on me by people who could not or would not see what heaven truly sees within me. I release the cunning fear that has been masquerading, speaking to me in the deceptive voice of wisdom, holding me captive in stagnation. I release the false comfort of staying small, stepping out of the insidious lie that my ceiling, defined by human limitation, is my ultimate limit. I declare now, with every fiber of my being, I am not behind, I am not broken, I am not forgotten by the divine. I am in a sacred season of preparation. I am in powerful formation. I am being meticulously built for something magnificent that I do not yet have the physical eyes to fully see or comprehend, but my spirit recognizes it, yearns for it, and I choose, deliberately and powerfully, to agree with it today. I break agreement with every destructive cycle of circling, of stagnation, of self-sabotage that has plagued my past. I break agreement with inherited fear and every form of captive thinking that has held my mind in bondage. I step, boldly and unequivocally, into the authentic, divine identity that was spoken over me by my Creator before I even had breath in my body, before the world knew my name. I am a higher being, created in the image and likeness of the Most High. I am a chosen carrier of divine purpose, a vessel for God's glory. And starting from this moment, from this powerful declaration, I walk forward not in arrogance or false bravado, not in a desperate performance to prove my worth, but in the quiet, profound, and unshakable certainty of someone who finally, truly knows who they are, rooted and grounded in their divine truth. If this message resonated deeply, if it confirmed something your spirit already knew in its core, then share it with someone who desperately needs to hear this liberating truth today. Leave a comment below and tell me what old agreement, what limiting belief are you powerfully breaking today. Your words are not just comments, they are potent declarations. Use them. And if you're ready to go even deeper into this profound revelation, to truly unpack and embody the Chosen One's blueprint for your life, everything you need is in the first pinned comment below.